let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now a sterling fellow who is opening a week from Monday in Boston in a very funny show with a very funny title, Utboo, Unhealthy to Be Unpleasant. I remembered what it meant. Tony Randall is his name, I remember him.
You remember better than I do. It is my pleasure to introduce you to an extraordinary young lady. She is the editor of Cosmopolitan magazine and the author of a little book entitled Sex and the Single Girl, Helen Gurley Brown.
And I have the great honor of introducing the man whose 10th book, his newest collection of jokes, Laugh Day, has just hit the bestseller lists, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
Fighting off yourself, fella. And, well, you know what a lucky fellow John Charles Daly is, but this week his cup flowed over because on Thursday morning, his lovely wife, Virginia, gave birth to a beautiful daughter. She could name Nina Elizabeth. She could named after Justice Warren's wife, who is Virginia's mother. And here's old Pop Daly himself.
As Bennett well knows, I hope you'll agree, Bennett, I'm not given to boasting, really. And with this scarred and weathered old visage of mine, I must say, however, I'm very proud. I have a way with daughters. Most beautiful things you ever saw, my daughters. When I have a daughter, it's a real occasion.
Did you tell me, John, that anybody who writes in, you'll send them a cigar?
Send them a cigar? No, Bennett, I did not tell you that. If you write in, I will send a cigar. No, sir, I did not. Mrs. Brown, nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy this first visit to What's My Line. We have some interesting occupations for you. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before our panel a little bit later in the program. Right now, let's meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Billy. Anderson, right, ma'am? All right. Is it Miss or Mrs. Anderson? Mrs. Anderson, and where are you from?
Forestburg, Texas.
Forestburg, Texas.
That's right.
Nice. Where is that near? Big city?
The nearest big city is Dallas.
Dallas. Oh, well, everybody knows that, so we have a general idea. All right, Miss Anderson, may I present the panel? And now will you join me over here, please, and we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Anderson is self-employed and deals in a product, and I think we'll begin the general questioning with Bennett, sir.
Mrs. Anderson, Texas makes one think of a gentleman named Lyndon Baines Johnson. Has your product got any connection whatever with politics?
No.
That's one down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
Is your product one that any of us on the panel might own?
Yes.
Is it now, or has it ever been alive?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Is it now, the product that you...
You mean are you talking now in terms of your ownership of it or a member of the panel's owning it?
When Mrs. Anderson has this product, is it alive?
Yes.
Is it a four-legged animal?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Randall.
It is an animal.
Yes.
Yes.
Is it a seasonal animal?
Well, actually, we would have to... It's a difficult question to answer. I think, being honest, we would have to say no. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mrs. Brown. Because I'm presuming by seasonal you mean is it restricted to...
I did not mean is it restricted. I meant... Is it connected with a certain American holiday? That's what I meant.
Oh, well, since you re-asked the question in those terms, I think we have to be honest.
Yes.
And give you a yes. That shocks Tony Randall. He doesn't get many of those.
I pass.
What? All right.
Is it feathered?
Yes.
What could it possibly...
Gobble.
Is it a turkey?
And what does Mrs. Anderson have to do with turkey?
You remove their gobbles before they go to the...
No, Tony, we can't give you a yes. You want to guess, Mrs. Brown?
I assume you raised turkey.
Raised turkeys. Oh, dear. That came too fast. We'll throw all the things over. Actually, Mrs. Brown and her husband own Gobble Holler. Is that right?
Turkey farm. That's right.
Gobble Holler Turkey Farm, and she has a brand name for her turkeys, which you raise, what, 50,000 turkeys?
50,000 this year.
And what is it yours are called?
They're broad-breasted bronze.
Broad-breasted bronze turkeys. And Mrs. Anderson really knows turkeys. She actually does work on other farms with turkeys. She knows how to clip their wings and whatever else you do with turkeys when you're raising.
In other words.
Talks turkey. That's very good, Arlene Francis. Thank
John,
you.
I don't want to argue with you, but I'd like to point out to you that in politics, many a turkey has been produced.
And in show business as well.
Wow. And that one ain't no young chicken either. Pardon me, who said that? Please. Bennett, Mrs. Daly's up in Harkness, you know, and she's having enough trouble. Let's not have her break any stitches, please. Thank you very much. Well, now, thank you. Well, I'm sorry we didn't give them more trouble, but I'm afraid they got on the season on us, Mrs. Anderson. Thanks for coming all this way to be our guest. It's nice to have you with us. And now let's meet our next contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Richard H. Holler. Fine. And where are you from, Mr. Holler?
New York.
From New York. Fine. Mr. Holler, may I present our panel? And now, if you'll join me over here, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Mr. Holler is self-employed and deals in a product. And we'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Mr. Aller, you have a very, very serious demeanor. Is your product contrary to that? Is it a gay, fun, entertaining, or amusing product?
Yes.
Is it one that I would have in that case?
Perhaps.
You could.
Is it something I would buy at a store?
Yes.
Is it something that I might ever put on my person?
Yes.
Would it be in any way termed apparel?
No.
1 down and 9 to go. Tony Randall.
Is it seasonal?
This time, I don't care how we phrase it, you get a no. 2 down and 8 to go. Mrs. Brown.
Is this product something I would use on my person above the waist?
Yes.
Is it something I would use on my person above the neck?
Yes.
Now we're isolating the area. Would it be between the nose and the mouth that I would use this product?
No.
Nope, that's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf. Very good.
May I presume, Mr. Holler, therefore, that it's between the eyes and the back of the head?
Yes.
Can I eliminate the eyes and make it somewhere in connection with the head?
I wouldn't let him if I were you.
Well, now, wait a minute, John.
You cannot... What do you want to do, Bennett?
I
You want to
just
protest?
want to eliminate spectacles or eyelashes or something of that sort.
Uh-huh. And that's what you had in mind when you asked the question.
And I'm still getting a no?
And you're still getting a no, yeah. That's right.
There you are, Olive.
4 down and 6 to go, Arlene Francis.
Well, I don't know that it's only eyelashes. Do you have something to do with hair of some kind?
No.
Hair of any kind? No hair.
5 down and 5 to go, Tony Randall.
This product that is worn year-round on people's eyes... is it the kind of mask... is it, worn more by one sex than the other?
Yes.
Is it worn more by the weaker sex?
Now, would you care to Tony, would you care to withdraw that question, or do you want to take what's going to happen?
I'm going on the road for 4 weeks anyway. Nothing really matters in my life anymore.
All right, I guess we will have to accept that term as having...
the fairer sex.
The fairer sex, that's right.
Now you've insulted the brunettes.
Is it a form of eye makeup?
Yes.
Is it eyeshadow?
No.
No. 6 down and 4 to go, Mrs. Brown.
We've already ruled out that it's not eyelashes or eyeshadow or...
No, there's an...
Oh, I know what
there's
it
an
is. Can we have a
assumption.
conference?
You
Or
may
just
have
one?
30 seconds for a conference.
Well, I mean, it can be something other than hair.
I asked eyelashes, and he said no.
No, I asked eyelashes, and he said no.
Is it something...
I asked hair. No, I said, does it have anything to do with hair? And he said no, so maybe it's false hair. Maybe it's plastic eyelashes.
Is it something that you attach
know.
to your eyes?
Yes.
Is it attached to the lash rather than to the lid above the lashes?
You answer that one. I don't know.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Is it eyelashes, false
Yes.
eyelashes?
That's
Why
right.
did I...
It's not hair.
What does he make the false eyelashes of?
Very special synthetic fiber that can be permanently curled. Human hair cannot.
It's synthetic vegetable fiber.
Like on coconuts, that kind of hair.
Now, this may have something to do with it. Mr. Aller is head of a company called Ingeborg Inc., and his eyelashes, I didn't know this, because I don't know anything about eyelashes, let's face it. But his are particular and special because they go under instead of over.
Under your own lashes.
Underneath?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are those the ones you put on with a brush? You sprinkle the...
No. A regular adhesive.
Mr. Olive, my wife dropped one of those on the floor one day, and I thought it was a caterpillar and stepped on it and ruined the entire object. It couldn't have been your product, I guess.
Yes.
I hope not.
No. But Bennett dropped it and stepped on it, and then Phyllis stepped on Bennett, and that's the end of that story, believe me. But this underneath part makes a special category, right?
Well, the reason for that is so that they'll look really natural.
But you think they'd get awful close to your eye, though.
Well, they're so light you can hardly feel them.
Oh. Boy, are you a salesman.
Are you wearing any now?
No, not tonight.
No, not yet. But we're going to let Bennett try a pair. That's what we're going to do. Thank you very much, Mr. Aller. Nice to have you with us, sir, on Let's Fall Out. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, this message. Feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which the panel is blindfolded. Blindfolds in place, panel.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Will you enter, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? All right. Panel, as you know, a different form of questioning. One question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise. And we will begin with Tony Randall.
Something about the applause told me that you're a man. Is that correct?
I've been led to believe that.
Mrs. Brown?
Are you in the entertainment business?
Yes.
Mr. Cerf?
Is that meek, mild, mousy little voice distinct wrong sort of thing? Is that misleading us? Are you instead a very virile person?
Nah. Now, we'll give you a yes on that. Miss Francis?
Are you a popular motion picture actor?
Not anymore.
Now, I'd change that to a resounding yes. Mr. Randall?
Are you currently appearing on the Broadway stage?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mrs. Brown.
Are you more apt to be known in a dramatic role than as a comedian?
That's a matter of opinion.
What?
I would say, again, with our guest's permission, that since you said more apt, I would say yes, that you would be more apt to consider the dramatic role. Mr. Cerf?
Is there one particular picture for which you're quite famous?
I'm afraid so.
I didn't get that.
I'm
afraid so.
Miss Francis?
Do you have a beautiful wife that Bennett admires enormously?
Was he going to say no?
I chose Bennett in particular
Because he admires every woman on earth.
No.
Well, she's beautiful, yes.
Mr. Randall?
Are you blonde?
I'll take it off and see.
I would say no. 2 down and 8 to go, Mrs. Brown.
Oh, it's not Kirk.
Now it is.
You have a very deep bass voice. Are you a big man?
I'm not small.
Mr. Cerf?
I think I recognize your voice. I'm going to take a chance. Were you in a very famous picture called The Lost Weekend?
Yes.
Yes, Senator.
Is it Mr. Ray Milland?
That's right.
That's right.
Very good. Excellent. The first question you answered was the rest of the voice, I think, was a great sender off on
Very
it.
good.
But the
Because
first
he has
answer,
an English accent.
the first answer
Until
was
he said, I think I was.
Yeah.
I was once.
Well, you know, the last time I was on this show, I was a mystery guest some time ago. And I thought it'd be brilliant to make all my answers in Spanish. And they got me in the second question.
Well, the thing is, Mr. Milland, there's a big article about you in one of the papers today, which made
Today?
yeah,
Si.
one of the dramatic sections.
Spanish.
I made a note that you were around.
Yes, he's rehearsing in a new play. Aren't
That's
you,
right,
Mr.
but
Milland?
and I want to clarify. The question was asked about the play, but Mr. Milland is rehearsing for A Hostile Witness, which is going to open after the first of the year, right?
That's right.
What date?
I think we open on February 14th.
February 14th. But it's in rehearsal, so that we could say legitimately, no, he is not appearing in a play right now. Agreed?
Right.
Good, I don't get picked on
Good
this
day,
time.
February
That's
14th.
They
fine.
didn't ask it.
They didn't. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Land.
John.
Nice
Thank
to
you
have
very
you as a guest. Kurt Douglas. Well, you've done very well, panel. Got to give you all the congratulations in the book, and we'll have another contestant after this word. Now to meet our final contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Arlene Henry. All right. Is it Miss or Mrs. Henry?
Mrs.
Mrs. Henry, and where are you from?
New York, Long Island.
From New York, Long Island. Fine, nice to have you with us. May I present the panel? Mrs. Henry, and now will you join me over here, Mrs. Henry? We'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Henry is salaried, deals in a service, and we'll begin the festivities with Helen Gurley Brown.
Mrs. Henry, do you work for a profit-making organization?
No.
No. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Henry, is your work done then for some governmental agency?
Yes.
Is it local rather than national?
Yes.
It's city?
Yes.
Is it in the borough of Manhattan?
Yes.
It is. Would you have anything whatever to do with any recent development that was in the newspapers?
Yes.
Are you in any way connected with that blackout that we had in the East?
No.
No. No, that's 2 down, a day to go, and I think here that we should all recognize that the term recent allows for some latitude as to determining time sequence. So that I just don't want you to lock in, for instance, on the term recent on
The
this
sinking
week.
of the Lusitania is...
Something like that. All right, Arlene Francis.
Is it possible that you might wear a uniform in your job?
Yes.
Would you have anything whatsoever to do with traffic in any way?
Yes.
Are you a meter maid?
Very good. Very good. Very good indeed. We thought we'd have
And
a
you
lot...
have done an absolutely smashing job. All the meter maids.
They're all smashed.
They're all
But actually, the thing I was concerned about, meter maids were established in 1960, right?
Yes.
Which is why I didn't want you to lock in on the term recent as being, you know, something...
Well, but there are stories about them in the paper every once in a while. They can now put tickets on cars, I believe, even if they're not where the meters are.
Yes.
Isn't that right? There was some story about that in the paper recently.
How do they do that?
Well,
Easily. They just put the ticket on the car and go.
Oh, I thought the girl didn't have to be there to put the... I'm confused.
The meter doesn't have to be there, Tony.
The meter doesn't have to put the ticket on the car.
The meter doesn't have to put the ticket... And the uniform is on the meter, so
See?
there you are. Do you ever... You know, this is, I know, a sensitive area, and I'm not in any way seeking to embarrass, believe me, but do you ever have any trouble with types, both male or female, because you're sitting there writing a little ticket for their automobile?
Well, anybody's liable to get upset once in a while. And we do have trouble once in a while, but usually...
Does it ever get so bad that you have to be concerned about whether you're going to be violently attacked?
No, I've never had that happen.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that the American public are becoming more and more civilized every year. When I was young, I'm not so sure that this would have been... A very handsome uniform you have, too.
Thank you very much.
Very handsome uniform, and I must say, in your case, an extremely handsome young lady to wear it. Well, good fun. I know it must be fun because it's a new kind of endeavor, really, for women. And
how long does it take to learn how to be a meter maid?
Well, I was in training for 3 weeks, and then...
That's all, huh?
That's
you don't
all.
have to learn karate or judo or anything to be
No.
As you can see, all of us involved in this program are violent by nature. Well, thank you very much. It's very nice to have you with us. And, Tony, wonderful to have you with us. Mrs. Brown, hope you enjoyed your visit, too.
Thank you.
And good night, Arlene Francis.
Good night, and good night, Nina Elizabeth Daly. And good night to you, dear Tony, and happy opening a week from Monday in Boston.
Thank you very much, Arlene. So nice to have you with us. Good night, Helen.
Good night, Tony. It was a pleasure. Bennett, so wonderful to see you again.
And may I explain, in case you're wondering about that remark of Arlene's, we thought it was going to be Kirk Douglas tonight because we just left him, and his lovely wife, Ann, is sitting in the control booth, and we thought he was going to try to trick us tonight.
Yeah.
And that explains that. Good night, Pop Daly.
Good night, Bennett. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us on What's My Life?